about my work. And I was so overwhelmed by their response and how people love the work, which is good to hear, you know. So my experience in Paris was wonderful. I enjoyed it. Like Paris is a beautiful city. Yeah, it's wonderful. That's all I can say. Yeah, thanks.
What an amazing experience. And I mean, looking at that, I think it encapsulates everything, right? And about what this award is about and the opportunities that it gives to young emerging artists, particularly from South Africa. And particularly seeing people, you know, like as yourself, who comes, as you said, from a township going into a space like that, and that how it just opens up your mind and your purview of the world. But what I also want to just looking at that video is just looking at, you know, your family at the end of it. And for me, it's seeing the person, not just you're an artist, but you are Abongile, and to see the love of family welcoming you back home. And I want to just touch on that a bit. You know, can you just share with our wonderful viewers who've taken time to tune into this and just tell them a bit of who Abongile is? Where were you born? You mentioned in the video that your older brother sort of introduced you into art. How many siblings do you have, and where were you born?
First of all, as you know, I'm Abongile. I'm from Cape Town, in a township called Kwalanga, so that's where I grew up. Since I was a small kid, I've been interested in art, and I was like introduced at the early age by my elder brother, Luzuko. So he's the one who actually taught me how to draw, and then I've just taken it from there. And yeah, even at family, like my mother is very supportive towards what I do, even though it hasn't been like, I'm still learning and still growing as an artist, but she's very supportive of what I do. So yeah, I've just been a kid who was always curious about like art, you know, learning different kind of like techniques of art, and then that's why it landed me to working with like found objects and leather. So yeah.
And I believe, speaking of your mom, I believe that Umama is on her way.
Yeah.
She's on her flight. Is this her first time being on a plane?
Yeah, it's actually her first time. So she's gonna be joining me here at Johannesburg at the Absa Art Gallery. So I'm also looking forward what she would think about my work, because I don't think she's seen this new body of work. So I'm excited for her to be joining me to kind of like share this moment with me and with the viewers.
Yeah, and I think it's also important, like you raised something important, like not only has she seen this body of work, but to see your work in this space, in a corporate setting, supported by a corporate, and you know, to know that all of the investment put into you has not been wasted. And I know, like, you know, it's a side debate we'll have on the side, but a lot of concern of people thinking, what, you know, if your child goes into the arts and they get right, but there are opportunities, and it's not a dead end. So we're very glad that she's going to be here to support and to see that you are making it, and there are people that are out there who enjoy what you do, and they celebrate it, and the world is a better place because of it. And thank you for that.
Well,
we're excited to meet your mom. I mean, she's been part of this journey with you since the beginning. So that's for us tonight, you know, when she's here and we take her through, it's going to be a real celebration.
Yeah.
So you did mention to Yowie that your brother introduced you to art, but I mean, Abongile, when did you realize that you wanted to become a professional artist, that this is what you wanted to do full time?
Yeah, I think it doesn't happen, like you don't get to decide once at a particular time. I think it's different stages, you know, from doing it as a hobby to doing it like in high school. So I've always done like art classes since I was in high school. I attended the Peter Clark Art Center while it was still Frank Joubert Art Center. So after school, from Silimela, where I went school to, I would go and attend painting classes, you know. And then from there, I went to study fine art at Michele School of Art. So I think if I would say a particular time, it's when I got to high school. So that's when I think I decided that I wanted to be an artist. But yeah.
And all your friends and that knew they saw this in you following your passion and your dream.
Yeah, and people around me have always been encouraging for me because they've seen the potential, you know. So they've always encouraged me to follow my dream and this art thing. Yeah,
well, you must keep, I mean, with what we got around us, you know, and we will share some of the works just now, all I can say to you is keep following your passion and your dream. Yeah. Don't stop, please. You know?
Thank you.
The world is definitely a better place with your art in it. So keep pursuing it.
I hope.
As you reflect back, what would be some of the biggest challenges you had to overcome in pursuing art as a career?
Biggest challenges that I've kind of had to overcome was kind of believing in my craft, believing in the work that I do, especially now. I think it has taken me time to kind of be confident in my work, express myself as an artist the way I want to. And I just felt like I just needed to be more honest with myself and kind of put it out there to the world, you know. Of course, you get those kind of financial issues of materials and everything, but there's always a way, you know. You make some plans so that you can continue doing what you love.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And talking about the art and the production inside of it, so tell us more about what does it express for you? Can you describe the voice and style? Because you spoke about at a particular point you decided what medium you were going to choose and how you were going to put your art together, because making sure that it's different from other people. So tell us more about your style and your voice. What is Abongile's particular style and voice?
Okay. So I think I was in my second year when I started working with leather. So my style, I don't know, I just decided to kind of work with leather because I kind of like the texture of the leather, the colors. So I like this idea of collecting leather offcuts that I can kind of bring into my studio and kind of paste them together and kind of stitching them together. So for me, the process is very important. It's more like I'm healing something while I'm stitching. So there's kind of that element of think about healing, meditating, the hours that I spend in studio, you know.
And are you particular about the type of leather offcuts, where you collect the leather from? It's an interesting thing that you say that it's offcuts, because that's also linked to sustainability and that you're recycling, you know. So are you particular of where you collect your leather offcuts from? Do you have built relationships that you've built with so-called suppliers and people that you go to, and they know that, okay, Abongile is going to come in, and you've built a relationship around that?
Yeah, the idea of using leather, yes, it's about recycling discarded material that I get from kind of people who manufacture bags and kind of clothing. So I just call them and then go and pick up the offcut, the pieces that they no longer use, and then I want to bring them to life and create something out of them. Yeah.
Are those people around your community, Kwalanga, or in the broader Cape Town area?
Broader Cape Town area.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it any particular type of leather? I mean, from a certain animal, or would you work with different animal skins and so on?
I work with different animal skins. For instance, when I was in Paris, I struggled to find real leather that comes from animal skin, so it's kind of using what they call pleather, which is not the real leather. Okay. So yeah, so I'm open to using different types of leathers. Yeah.
I think, Joey, we need to, you know, I know our viewers want to see probably a bit more of what this work actually looks like, you know. They're probably having a bit of an idea in their mind. So let's take a fly through of the exhibition and see some of the works therein. Oh, wow. Some amazing works therein. And I know for some of you that are watching this think, well, that's going to look good on my lounge wall. And I'm telling you, it is going to look good on your lounge wall. So I have to give a bit of a punt here, because I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't, and to say all the works you've just seen are for sale. And I'm telling you, they are, they're wow. And for all the purchasers, as Absa, we do not take a commission thereof. All the money thereof from the sale goes to the artist to support Abongile for future works and so on. So if you are interested, do reach out to us, because I know they're going to be snapped up very quickly. Yoey, which one are you taking?
Just like I've got goosebumps. And just looking at that video, the detail in the works, you know, the texture, the colors, it comes across like so well. So imagine if you're seeing that on video, like online, imagine what it's like being here in the gallery and seeing that for yourself. So I'm blown away. It's beautiful. Your work is beautiful, sir. Like wenzeka kakhulu.
Abongile, well done. You can be proud. I know it's been a tough journey over the past few years, but you can stand proud. It's really a fantastic show.
Thank you so much.
So I want to get now into the title. No, I mean I'm proudly Xhosa, so I'm fully aware of what it means. But please, just tell the rest of our viewers and everyone watching online, Amagoduka. What does it mean?
The title Amagoduka, I spent a lot of time thinking about it. You know, I had other options, but I decided to go with this one because I was kind of like interested in my family history, you know, wanting to find out more about where we come from as a people. So it's based on kind of like lived experiences informed by where I live. It's more like looking at spaces between urban areas and like Eastern Cape, you know. So I was trying to capture the feeling of like moving between these spaces, you know, and my work kind of like got inspired by the landscape from where my parents come from in King Williamstown, Eqoboqobo. So we usually visit that area like during December holidays. So I kind of like the kind of like natural environment of the space as compared to kind of like chaotic spaces that we live in like. It's like it comes from animals, the cows that you see there. So inspired by the life within rural areas, you know. Yeah.
And I mean, that's a very interesting place
to fit it. I don't know how, but I felt like it should be part of like the whole thing while I'm thinking of Amagoduka. Because if you think about Amagoduka, for us, like where I come from, it's also like a way for youth to kind of like to tell people that they are not from here, they are outsiders in a certain space. But for me, it's more like I can accept that because there's nothing wrong with being from like rural areas and kind of like kind of like embracing who you are and where you come from.
Yes.
So it's all about that. And also, like for example, my parents came from Eastern Cape. They lived in a township, and then it's all part of like linked with the history of like migrant labor. But I didn't limit myself, you know, to kind of like that I wouldn't do something different. I wouldn't follow things like art, you know, since I'm come from that kind of like background. And also moving to Paris, it's also part of me challenging myself and kind of like not putting myself in a box. Yeah.
And showing your growth and development and evolution as a person. I mean, you said it so well in the video, and you said like on a human level. So on a human level, these are your lived experiences. Just because your family came from a rural village does not limit who you're going to become. I mean, look at me. I also come, my family's from rural Eastern Cape in a beautiful village called Ganduli. So shout out.
But it's how you embrace your experience.
100%.
I think it's because it's all about a journey that you go on. And I think, it's embracing it and taking it along with you.
Yeah, I think that's what my work is about. It's about, it's influenced by my lived experiences, my journey and the journeys of those that came before me.
I think that's so important for any artist, because I know, as we, through the Lateliers, we interact with a number of artists. Some of them do sometimes struggle with inspiration behind their work. And I think there's an important lesson that Abongile is sharing in terms of how his lived experience and where he's come from has inspired him in terms of what we see around us.
And not to be ashamed of it, right? No. To embrace it, like you're saying, Paul. I mean, there's a big debate about the city that he comes from, but we'll get into that a bit later on. So let me hand over back to you.
So I mean, Abongile, preparing for solar exhibition is also quite a daunting task. I mean, just take us through the process that you went through, over the past months and so on.
Preparing for the show. Even though this is not my first solo show, but this one I think I spent a lot of time making this work. It's like since I started working on it when I got to my residence in Paris, and then I came back. So I think I spent the last year thinking around the show, doing some research. You have to be kind of like patient, because you start from one work and then you must have like a body of work. But it's like listening to yourself. Maybe you wait for inspiration sometimes, and then you see how it's gonna fit to the works that you already have. So it's not just about making like a lot of works, but it's about looking at how the works relate to each other. But what I've done to this body of work is that I try to mix like figurative and abstract, So that's quite what I was trying to do.
And then in your process, I mean, did you have an end goal in mind, or did it, as you crafted the narrative and that, it shifted a bit through your journey?
I wouldn't lie, at first, like I didn't know what direction it's gonna take, but as I work, I was allowing my intuition to kind of like lead me. So for me, it's about, even when I'm doing a particular work, sometimes I wouldn't know what's the outcome is gonna be or how the work is gonna look like. So I just need to kind of like push myself and kind of like do it and listen to what it tells me at the end.
One of the questions we often get asked by people that come through the gallery and that is, do you work on one work from start to finish, or are you working on multiple pieces simultaneously?
Yeah, when I was preparing this body of work, I was working at different artworks at the same time, kind of like do one piece and then put it aside, do another, not finish it, and then go to the other. So, but I was kind of like enjoying it,
So it allows you to reflect on that piece and then revisit it.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't know how you're gonna finish it up, so you have to put aside, maybe follow another idea that you have, kind of like do it, But it's quite a process that I enjoy, yeah.
And then just like with that process, I mean, the inspiration comes differently for different people. You've mentioned that, like, yes, yours is lived experiences. I know for other artists, it comes through dreams, and so forth. When we were hanging the show earlier in the week, you observed something, and I just want to touch on that a little bit. That when we were hanging it, due to certain circumstances, we had to be barefoot in the gallery.
Okay.
You have to appreciate these things, right? And you observed that, and I just want to get into that a bit, because I think as part of the process, that is part of the process. It's not just when you're done and it gets framed, but putting it up on the wall and people coming into the gallery to come in and see the exhibition. That's all part of the process of your body of work. It continues. It doesn't just end once you've done and then you and Paul, here's the work, you guys frame it and all of that. Just touch a little bit on what that observation was, and what that from a process point of view means for you.
Are you talking about when we were walking barefoot in the space? That actually happened accidentally, but it kind of like worked with the show, because what I realized at that moment is that the figures that are in my work, no one is kind of like wearing shoes, they are barefooted. So it's, for me, it was about like showing people in their comfortable spaces, and like in some places like spiritual places where you go in, you have to take off your shoes, you know, because
Yes.
so yeah, it's like certain spaces that are respected, and also art is kind of like spiritual in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah.
And it was almost a spiritual experience.
It was.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
kind of like, yeah.
I think for me, just being part of that process and some of, you know, the behind the scenes stuff that happens in preparation for that. So I like when you said it becomes like a sacred space that you are working in. And I think for me, that has also been my journey in working. I mean, I remember one of our first meetings, we met you at the Cape Town Art Fair, and you were preparing to go to Paris, and to see that growth, like for me, that has been part of my process and journey with you, to like appreciate you and a human level as an artist, and the sacredness of seeing like, okay, Abongile has come from this and continues to grow into this. Like I just thought it was so fitting, and that's why I wanted to just touch into in terms of process, because I think it's an ongoing process, and it's not just about the works itself, but the spirituality like behind that as well. And just let me and the rest of the viewers of Abongile know, like in terms of winning the Gerald Sokoto Award, what has that meant for you as an artist, and how has that influenced you, and how do you think it's going to you know, impact your work going forward?
Winning the Absa Art Gerald Sokoto Award has been like the biggest highlight of my career. As an artist, you kind of like work in studio on your own, and then you apply for this competition. So winning the Gerald Sokoto Award kind of like was more like an encourage for me to kind of like keep going, you're on the right track. So going forward, I'm just gonna be like, I think I'm gonna continue doing what I've been doing, you know. Yeah, I think it's all about that, you know, like continue to experiment and grow as a person, not only like the artworks, but also you as like a human being. So yeah.
And as a young African artist, what do you see the role of art and artists in South Africa and on the broader continent? I mean, you had the privilege of going to Paris. You got to be exposed to some artists there. What for you do you see as the role of art in our country and of artists? And if can you compare that to what you maybe saw in Paris?
I think the role of art in any society, I think, is to kind of like reflect what's happening in society, you know. As a kind of like an artist, you try to kind of capture that in a way that you want to make people to think. Maybe they'll get what you're trying to say or not. So, but I think African art is still growing, and then as compared to like places like Paris, you know, they have big institutions there. Yeah. The culture of art is quite bigger there as compared to here. So that's what I realized.
Do you think that there's maybe more support for artists in our northern countries, like Europe, compared to here in Africa? Or
I don't know, I'm not really sure.
Or more opportunities.
Yeah, more opportunities.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Well, look, I think we're sitting in February, or artists, and we're talking about opportunities.
Yeah.
The L'Atelier for 2023 will be opening on the 1st of April, so it's just really around the corner.
And that's not an April Fool's joke.
It's not an April Fool's, and it will be open until the end of May. So if you are sitting there at home thinking, well, maybe I would love to jet off to Paris and take up the opportunity like Abongile has had, you need to throw your hat in the ring, and I'd like to encourage you to enter the L'Atelier. But Abongile, to put it to you, what would your message be to any artist that is, thinking about entering the L'Atelier?
The message is simple, just be true to yourself and be true to your art. Like, I think once you understand that, you stand a chance of getting the award. Yeah.
I love that. And that's so important. Be true to yourself, be true to your art, be authentic in who you are.
Yeah.
And like Abongile, follow your passion. It's really for you, it's been a journey, and the journey is still continuing. I mean, for Yowie and myself, we're really looking forward to seeing what is next in Abongile's journey.
Yeah. All right.
So, Abongile, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, it's been an inspiration, and not just joining us today, but since you walked off with that award, I mean, for Yowie and myself, it's really, we've been inspired. It's been a humbling, but really, and I think, authentic experience that we've had with you over the past few months and years. So, thank you. I mean, this is what inspires, I think, ourselves to be curators and do the work that we do.
No, 100%, Paul.
I would like also to say like personal thanks to the both of you for this journey, and thanks to Absa and thanks to Sanava, including the French Institute in South Africa, for the opportunity that they kind of like given me. It's been an amazing journey, so yeah.
Thank you, and a big shout out to our partners that's also made this possible. So now, you want to come see these works, you want to come meet Abongile. Tomorrow we do have a meet and greet in the Absa Gallery, tomorrow Friday the 10th of February from 10 to 2. Anytime between 10 and 2 o'clock tomorrow, come through to us here at the Absa Gallery in Joburg. Come, be inspired, walk through these works, get to have a cup of coffee with Abongile and let him share the journey that he's been on over the past few months and years.
So it doesn't just end here, right? So this exhibition is going to be here until the 6th of April in the Absa Gallery. But for those of you who are not around Gauteng, it's also going to travel. That's part of the prize that he has won. And if you'd like to experience Amagoduga in person, please note that it's, like Paul said, there'll be a meet and greet, but it will be here until the 6th of April, and the gallery opens from Tuesdays to Fridays between 10 and 4. And then just also note that we'd like you to please book so that the team is aware that there are people coming, because sometimes we also run a money museum, we're on the other side. And if you don't have the link for the booking, you can also just email us at Absa Gallery, sorry, gallery@absa.co.za. And then we'll send you the link for you to book. The exhibition is also going to be traveling as part of his...
That's exciting.
Very exciting, as part of Abongile's prize. And it's going to travel to Gqeberha in May. It's also going to travel to Bloemfontein in August and to Pretoria. So there's really no excuse. For those of you joining us around South Africa, if you are nearest to any of those 3 cities, please join. And come and meet the man in person. He'll be there for each of the openings. Come and meet the man in person, experience his artwork, talk to him, talk about the journey behind the artwork. For further details on the specific dates, please keep an eye out on all our social media platforms and also on the Art Hot Spot, where we'll be sharing the actual dates in those months when it will travel to those cities.
And we forgot one important date, Yowie.
What's that, Paul?
April.
Yes.
I mean, would you like to share a bit of that news as well?
Well, Paul's kind of like letting the cat out of the bag here. This is just like still very new information, but because we love you all so much, I will just share it. So Abongile is also going to be our visiting artist at the Kar, which is the Klein Karoo National Festival. And he's going to be joining us then, producing some works on site. So people who want to actually see how he does this, and those who think it magically appears, it doesn't. So he'll be there producing on site, and there's a very special project that we'll be launching there as well. So please, it's going to be during school holidays, so absolutely no excuse. Come and visit and support our artists and support the broader art industry.
And that's from the 1st to the 9th of April.
Yes.
In Oudtshoorn at the Klein Karoo Nationale Kunstefees. So please, come join us there as well.
And it's going to be his first time in Oudtshoorn as well. You're not allowed to ride ostriches anymore, but we'll make sure that he's entertained in other ways and get to appreciate the landscape.
So to everyone, Yowie, Abongile, a big thank you. Really a big thank you. To everyone that joined us today, they've taken time out from their busy schedules. Thank you very, very much. And really, this is a fantastic exhibition. I would really like to encourage you to come through tomorrow to our meet and greet. If you can't, come through to the gallery while the exhibition is still hanging. Until our next Absa Art Hot Spot, we look forward to hosting you in the Absa Gallery. Goodbye.
Goodbye.